car keys. Car keys. This is Mercedes, that's you. It says Viper right here. You driving? That you?
Check your purse.
Those are yours? Church say amen again. All right, I want you all to turn to the book of 1 Kings, 21st chapter. Gary, you ain't got to move too far because it will be too long. And before you even stand. 1 Kings, chapter 21. Amen, somebody. When you get there, you can stand. The reading of God's holy word. Are you there? If you're not there, that means you're sitting. If you are there, that means you're standing. And so I'll know when to go on. Starting at the 5th verse. But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said to him, "Why is your spirit so vexed that you eat no food?" And he said to her, "Because I spoke to Nahab the Jezreelite, and he said to him, 'Give me your vineyard for money, or else, if it please you, and I will give you another vineyard for it.' And he answered, said, 'I will not give you my vineyard.' And then Jezebel, his wife, said to him, 'Do you not govern Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let your heart be cheerful. I will give you the vineyard of Nahab the Jezreelite.'" And then I want you to skip down, if you would, to the 13th verse. "And the two worthless men came in and sat opposite or opposed him. And the worthless men brought charges against Nahab in the presence of the people, saying, 'Nahab cursed God and king.' And so they took him outside the city, stoned him to death with stones. And they sent to Jezebel, saying, 'Nahab has been stoned. He is dead.' And soon as Jezebel heard that Nahab had been stoned and was dead, Jezebel said to Ahab, 'Arise and take possession of the vineyard of Nahab, for the Jezreelite. He refused to give you money. He refused to give you for money, for Nahab is not alive, but dead.' And as soon as Nahab heard that Nahab was dead, he arose and went down to the vineyard and took possession of it." I want you to make sure you have really good pens and good notepads, because I'm going to give you this. And the title, look at your neighbor and say, today's title is The Influence of a Woman. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. I've been waiting on a few good months to preach this message because I think we fail to understand the influence that women have on history, on life, and on men. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to remind you of who this woman Jezebel is, okay? And let me be very clear before I continue on. Reminding you and I the purpose for which we gather. We gather because we believe that God will speak something to us that we would not normally hear. And that this is a strategic moment that God will intercept and go into the middle of our destiny, in the middle of our present, and give us a message that will allow us to exist and go beyond that which we have ever understood before. That's what this moment is all about. Amen, somebody? Amen. And so we come here seeking something specifically. So specifically in this particular context, this idea of Jezebel. Jezebel, of all the women mentioned in the Bible, she has gained the most popularity. She was more popular than Eve, the mother of all living. More popular than Mary, the mother of Jesus. But Jezebel has a position and a place in history that will never be rivaled. Because most of the church and most of the preachers that try to minister on her typically vilify her or see her as an evil woman. How many of you all would say that she was an evil woman? Well, that's one perspective, but let me give you a different perspective if I could, just for a few moments, if that's all right. If you look at the text, what happened, Brother Gary, is that Ahab, the king of Israel, was out doing his normal actions and his normal activities, and all of a sudden, he saw a vineyard that he wanted. And he was looking, little mama, and said, you know what, that vineyard would look nice in my collection. How do you know he said collection? Simply because, number one, you had to understand that Ahab had access to everything that was under Israel's jurisdiction. But he saw something that he didn't have. And he saw this thing and he said, you know, I really want to just add it. So it wasn't of necessity. It was a pure desire. And what was interesting is when he used all of his ability to try to persuade Ahab to give him the vineyard, he found out that he wasn't in a bargaining mood. He said, you don't have anything that I'm really looking for. I don't need no money. It's just the promise of this vineyard means more to me because it was given down from my fathers. And why is that even important to you and I? Because he realized that there are some things that I can't give up for money. My first point I need you to realize, beloved, is that there ought to be something in your life that somebody can't bargain away from you. That there ought to be some things that you aren't willing to give up for just a little thrill and a few dollars. There ought to be some things in your life that are just so impactful and so meaningful that you're willing to stand with them and fight for them, no matter who comes to ask for them. But let me stay on to the text because that's a message for another time. But if you find it very interesting that Ahab came home, Brother Rufus, and Ahab came home and he was looking real sad. And he didn't even want to eat because him didn't get his way. Him didn't get his way. And so he was looking all sad and him didn't want to eat nothing. And so then his wife came and said, what's wrong, Pookie? And he said, Ahab don't want to share. And so, as we looked at it, he was all frustrated, and then his wife said, don't you want Israel? Aren't you the king? The first thing you really need to understand about the power and the influence of a woman is that a woman will never forget why she got with you.
All right.
See, sometimes women are bold enough to marry you for exactly who you are. But every now and then, women will connect with you because they see your potential better than you do. And let me help somebody real good. I found out, because I remember living at home when I was at home at my mother's house, and I would get tired, I wouldn't feel like doing nothing, or I wouldn't feel like going to school, or I wouldn't feel like accomplishing something. She would remind me, she'd say, boy, if you don't get your tail up and get to that school, because you ain't going to be living with me forever. Because she saw beyond my present when all I knew was how I felt. And God has given women a strategic ability to see beyond where we are, to speak into a man's life and say where you're going to be, and I'm not going to live with you and let you stay here. How do you know that? Let me give you some biblical reality since you're looking kind of questionable. If you look back at Eve, the only reason why Eve was even created, it was very simple. Because Adam needed some help getting his stuff accomplished. The Bible said, I'm going to do what? I'm going to create you a what? Now you got to follow the text, beloved, very clearly. The reason why Eve was even brought in the game is because Adam wasn't doing everything he needed to do.
Amen.
Amen. Like and look at your neighbor and say, baby, we need you. We need you. And see, the influence of a woman, the first thing that a woman will influence, the first thing a woman will influence is very simple, is your character. See, what I love about the text is that she had to remind the king, who was only king in position, but didn't understand how to operate in character as a king. If you understood the rules of engagement, the king had every right not to even ask for the vineyard, but just to take the vineyard. Sometimes in our lives, God will send strategic women into your existence to remind you of how you need to operate according to your godly character.
All right.
Why do you think your mother constantly had to remind you of who they were raising? Why do you think constantly, if you're married, men, we always got to hear of the expectations of our women? Let me explain something to you. A woman is not foolish enough to get with you if she don't think that you can ascribe or get there. It was interesting. There was a funny story on Facebook years ago. It talked about how Michelle Obama and President Obama were having dinner, right? And they were at a gas station, stopped, and they were talking. And she saw an ex. And then President Obama at the time said, see, aren't you glad you married me? Because you might have been the first lady of a gas station. And she said, no, he would have been president of the United States. Because she understood that what's in me will make anybody connected to me great. Let me stick a pin right there. I need every woman in Faith Christian Community Church to stop selling yourself short just to fit in. Stop trying to just use your body and your abilities to get attention and start being extraordinary. Amen. Listen, if they don't like you, baby, they ain't going to like you because you dumb yourself down. Amen. They ain't going to love you anymore because you try to fit in and be like everybody else. Amen. Listen, he ain't going to stay with you just because you have his baby. Amen. You cannot persuade at the same time compromise. We give Jezebel hell in the scriptures. We do. We give her Helsinki, Finland. We give her everything negative about how horrible she was. But the thing about it is, Ahab would have never been as accomplished as he was. He would have never gone into the conquest that he did. He would have never set the standards he did if it had not been for that woman at his side who desired nothing less than greatness. Let me explain something to you also about the character of a woman concerning her influence. The one thing about her, she has no problem doing what she needs to do to get what she wants. Now here's the funny thing. One of the biggest problems that we have in the church is that we have limits to what we'll give God. Amen. But if we follow the totality of history with women, women have been vilified for everything that they've done, but we fail to realize the accomplishments of their life. Look at Rahab, the prostitute. All we want to remember is the fact that she sold her body, but we forget the fact that if it had not been for her, that those spies and those grown men might not have done nothing for the Lord. Now, am I trying to say that evil is good? Not at all, baby, but I'm saying you can learn a little something from those who were considered evil at the sacrifices they were willing to make. I remember there was an old song that came on years ago. It said, what would you do if your child was at home crying on the floor? Remember that? And all you got to do is what? Sleep with a man for a little bit of money. Now, mind you, we know that's wrong, it's unethical, but it talks to the character of a woman that I don't care what I have to go through. My child won't suffer. I don't care what they call me. My child won't suffer. But I say this to them that are willing to make those sacrifices. God has given you a passion and an influence that is second to none. And don't you dare compromise your integrity for anybody. Amen. The second thing I need you to realize about this particular story, that not only did she influence and have to remind Ahab what was going on, but if you follow in the text, that a woman's influence also touches the community. Now, let me be very clear. In old ancient times, it was not common for a woman to have the authority to command anybody. But if you follow the text, it says she found two nobodies and told them to go down and do a work for her. Let me explain to you that a woman not only has the ability to influence the character of a person, but also she can influence the community. Y'all think Martin Luther King was something? No, he had a strong woman who was pushing him to be that great because she reminded him of what's on the line. If you don't stand up, our whole community will fall short. Let me explain something to you as well. You look at Eve in the text. Even though she was the one who was credited with first disobeying God, then she was also credited in the text in the 4th chapter of Genesis as being considered the mother of all living. Despite your frailties and your faults, you still will have an honorable position with God.
Yes, yes. Amen.
God does not hold you because of how much and how many times you've failed, but God will still use you to bring people into a greater place and a greater depth of relationship, whether folk want to acknowledge you or not.
Yes, yes.
Let me even help you even clearly. If it had not been for Eve, we wouldn't have got Seth. Because she could have quit after her first 2 children had an issue. But she didn't give up. Why? Because she realized that she may have failed with God, but she wasn't going to let go and give up because there was a promise coming through her lips. Why? Because I love women in their memory. Because she remembered what was spoken to her in Genesis 3:17. It said that the seed of a woman would bruise the head of the serpent.
All right. Amen.
And so when she was saying, listen, I know the first 2 ain't going to be there because they gone now. That means I got to keep on trying. Let me talk about the tenacity of a woman. I don't know about y'all, but when my wife wants something, she has a way of never getting up until she get it. She can just push and push. Oh, she ain't here, so push and push and push and go because it's worth it to her. Men, if we had that same tenacity, because when women go through to the point of death, to have a baby, it's really about choice at that point. Because at any given point, women tell me that they can just stop and the baby could be aborted. Or they can stop at the first week and the baby could be aborted. They can stop at the 2nd month and the baby could be aborted. They can stop in the delivery room and the baby could be aborted. But there's something about the tenacity of a woman to push through every sense of opposition.
Yes, yes.
Somebody say the power of the woman.
Power of the woman.
The influence of a woman is amazing, and she realizes that what she does doesn't just affect one man or one person, but it affects the community.
Yes. Amen.
The last thing that's very important is that a woman affects the destiny. Somebody say, affects the destiny. Some of you that are sisters to brothers, or you have been mothers to children, or you have been just influencing the lives of people, one thing that your tenacity and your ability to influence does, it helps produce some of the greatest men and women in history. What I found in this particular text, which was very interesting to me, is that Ahab, after she got done crying and him didn't get his way, you don't hear nothing else from him until Jezebel's plan was completed. Women have a way of knowing where I'm supposed to get you to and showing you that I really don't need you.
Right, right. Amen.
And I'm saying that because what I found is that when women are put in positions where they have to stand alone, I found that if they have to stand alone compared to a man standing alone, I think I would put my money on a woman standing alone. Simply because I found that there's just something about a woman that never lets her give up. Because when you look at Proverbs 31, you see that in reality, the man gets the credit for the success of the woman's actions. But if it's not the consistency of the woman, he would never have that position in the city gates. Why? Because if his household is messed up, like the Bible says in the book of Timothy, you can't be a deacon, an elder, or a bishop unless your house is in order. And the interesting thing about the text, that you see that God gave clear rulership to the home, to the woman, because that's her responsibility. As a man is responsible for giving the relationship to God in the house, but she makes it work.
Yes, yes, yes. Amen.
That influence is powerful. And you know what I've learned? You can make or break your destiny depending on which woman you're with. Let me help you all, women. You can make or break your destiny depending on who's in your circle of friends. If your circle of friends are always more concerned about twerking than working, you're going to be broke and hopeless. If you are living in a circle of women that lie more than tell the truth, listen, I'm serious. I mean, I know some women that probably can twerk their tail off and make millions of dollars, but watch this, don't know all their ABCs.
All right.
Amen.
And those women will shape our thinking. The influence of a woman. But let me ask you a question. What type of woman are you? For the women in the house. Because you know how y'all do. Y'all got, number one, women, you all think faster than us. That's why y'all always win arguments. Y'all talk faster than us, so that's why we can't even get a word in edgewise, y'all can just talk. But my question is, what are you saying? Let me tell you a secret, woman. Can I tell you a secret that men won't tell you? So we got to pray for me. All right, I'm telling the secret. All right. Our day is determined by how you leave us. Our day is determined by how you leave us. If you let the last thing we hear is an argument, we're going to start off our day crappy. Statistics tell us that men make more money when their wife gives them a kiss before they leave. Statistically speaking, if a woman speaks life and declares and decrees over her husband or her significant other or her family member before he leaves the house, he is more likely to be successful because of the power of influence that God has given the woman.
Amen, amen.
How do you know that? Because the church, the bride of Christ, speaks into the culture. And we have determined where our culture will go or not. And our thing has been that we have gotten confused and we have lost our identity. We start speaking about more money and fame than we speak about healing and hope. But what are you speaking now as a woman of God? What are you speaking into the people around you? Are you willing to be that tenacious woman that's saying, listen, brother, I know you're struggling. Because that's what happened in the church. Once upon a time, all men ran the church, dog. And then women start seeing that men couldn't do the job right. So women start coming up and say, I'm going to serve the Lord. I'm going to be honest and I'm going to stand up. That's why when you look around, you see more women than men. Because they realize that the will of God must go on with or without us.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
It's not that women are trying to take over. It's just that men just got out of position.
Amen.
And that's why. And you know what's sad though? What I've seen? And we're about to go. Women don't even want the position. It's just men aren't willing to step out there.
Amen.
Amen.
But that's why we need each other. That's why we have to stand with each other. But what type of woman are you today?